The possibility is he'll break into somewhere to try and steal some money. He may well try and steal a car. Certainly he's going to be looking for those kind of things so he can get away and survive over Christmas indeed.
David Martin's described as 5'10" and strongly built with shoulder-length blonde hair. When he escaped, he was wearing a brown bomber jacket, blue trousers and V-neck jumper. His last address was at Paddington in London, but the police are checking known contacts throughout the country.
Despite the Christmas festivities, the defence of the Falkland Islands continues without let-up. But there are some links with home, and as Nicholas Witchell reports, the arrival of a floating hotel will improve conditions.
Too late to be used for Christmas, but bringing the promise of some relief to the accommodation problem, the 900-bed floating hotel, hired from a Swedish company for several £1 million, was guided gently through the Narrows into Stanley Harbour on the early morning tide. In the new year, the 5-storey Coastel, as it's dubbed, will be moved to a permanent site. For the moment, though, the most urgent matter for many servicemen is to try to get a Christmas phone call home, and that is presenting problems. Very simply, the tiny cable and wireless office in Stanley cannot possibly cope with the heavy demand.
Hi. Brian, how are you then? Yeah. How's the kids? Oh, good, good.
Those who do get through can speak for 3 minutes free of charge. The cost will be borne by the South Atlantic Fund. But for many, there simply aren't the facilities to make a call to their families.
So, make a change to have a decent face on the telly, won't it?
But there is clearly no lack of support from home. Sackfuls of presents given by schools, youth groups and voluntary organisations in Britain are being distributed around the various units here, together with richly decorated Christmas cakes prepared by the Army Catering Corps, each bearing the crests of the regiments in the Falklands. And on the authority of the Chief of the Army's General Staff, who's on a brief visit to the islands, there will be a Christmas Day issue of rum.
By the authority invested in me, authorise an issue of rum to every member of the armed services stationed on the Falkland Islands on the 25th of December 1982. It's going to be a very hard-working Christmas. That's the first thing to remember, because there's an enormous amount of work to be done down here, and you've probably seen that our soldiers are working every hour of daylight that there is and quite a lot of hours of darkness, and so there's not going to be much let-up. But insofar as we're going to be able to make it a bit happier with a few extra presents and turkeys and so on, we'll make the best we can for them.
You've been touring round the units here, General. Just what, briefly, is your impression of the morale these now, 7 months after the fighting has ended?
I don't know how to describe the enthusiasm that I've found amongst the soldiers here. Some of the ones on the air defence roles, sitting on tops of mountains in all weathers, can rustle up wonderful smiles, great enthusiasm for the work they're doing. They all are working to the extent that they possibly can, and every one of them is cheerful.
The presents were taken, some to be helicoptered to the tops of mountains like Longdon, Tumbledown and Harriet, where the missile batteries and their operators will be, others to units all around the islands. A Christmas a long way from home. There is, though, one compensation. Here it is at least summer.
Argentine police have banned an outdoor remembrance ceremony by veterans who served in the Falkland Islands War. When a group of Argentine soldiers gathered in Buenos Aires today to protest about the banning, they were quickly moved on. The police said the mass had been banned because official permission hadn't been sought to stage a public meeting. Back home, women peace campaigners outside Greenham Common Air Base in Berkshire are continuing their vigil for what will be their second Christmas. Though they have some of the Christmas trappings, it still looks like being a fairly bleak holiday. But that doesn't worry at least one protester, a grandmother from Cornwall. Bruce Parker reports.
There's a Christmas tree, the decorations are up, and the Christmas cards have been arriving by the bagful for a fortnight. Some of them, of course, are predictable. But even Santa Claus, while not exactly embracing nuclear cruise missiles, seems happy enough to straddle them. The Greenham camp is expecting dozens of visitors over Christmas, and more than 20 will stay there throughout the holidays.
all the women whom I know, 15 of us came up on that Sunday. They've all either got children or parents staying, and I thought, right, I'll go on their behalf. And there's a lot of energy coming up from West Cornwall this weekend.
So what's Christmas Day going to be like for you?
Very uncomfortable, I imagine, but I don't think it matters. I feel this is so important. I mean, we're thinking of all the future Christmases.
But there'll be a Christmas dinner served here. As most of the ladies at the camp are vegetarians, it'll be boiled potatoes and onions, plus a salad.
The 1,000 inmates at Birmingham's Winson Green prison are spending Christmas crowded into a building designed for fewer than 600. One prisoner who spent Christmas Day there before described what it's like.
It's no different than any other day, really. It's, apart from the carol service and the film, other than that, it's just like any other day in prison.
How do they take to it, Christmas Day? Because it's very much a family day, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they all take it in their own way, I think, within their own thoughts. They don't express it. I think they try to get it, not think about it and get it all over with.
The prisoners haven't ignored Christmas entirely, though. They've collected £135 to buy a special exercise cycle for a school for the handicapped. For 65 deprived children, Teesside Airport was the start of a sky ride to meet Father Christmas. A local airline arranged the trip, and the flight crew dressed up as fairy tale characters to welcome the youngsters onto the plane. Once they were busy in the cabin, Father Christmas stowed away in the cockpit with a sack full of presents, and when the plane had taken off, he came out of hiding with gifts for every passenger. In Lebanon, unconfirmed reports say a dozen people may have been killed today in exchanges of artillery fire south of Beirut near the international airport. It's on the fringes of an area controlled by Israeli forces, but the fighting is between rival Lebanese units which have been disputing a strategic road junction on the approaches to the capital. The fighting, which started 3 days ago, involves Christian militiamen and members of a left-wing Druze faction. In the clashes, it's estimated that 170 people have died. South of Lebanon, at Bethlehem, the Christmas processions are being guarded by Israeli forces. There's extra security this year to avoid attacks on visiting Lebanese Christians. Some Palestinians living in Bethlehem blame the Lebanese for the massacres of Palestinian refugees in Beirut. But despite the tension, musicians have been able to parade the streets as usual. In Poland, Lech Wałęsa has welcomed one of the last batch of Solidarity officials freed from internment. He said he'll fight for the release of 7 arrested union leaders who could still face serious charges. The freeing of the remaining Solidarity men interned without trial has brought about a certain mood of optimism in Poland compared with this time last year. But the main party newspaper warned today that there are enemies at work and the situation is still dangerous. Cricket, the Hampshire all-rounder Trevor Jesty is going to Australia to join the England squad, which has been weakened by injury. The worst setback for the side is the blow which Derek Randall took in the face from a ball on Wednesday. He won't be fit for the 4th Test in Melbourne on Sunday, which England must win to have any hope of keeping the Ashes. The Christmas travel rush has been heavy as usual. Roads, railways and airports are all busy as people hurry to get away before tonight's virtual close-down of travel services. Special coach services have been laid on and there's a constant stream of traffic making for the Channel ports. British Rail are running more than 100 extra trains today, but the entire network closes tonight until Monday morning. And that's the news on One this Christmas Eve. May I wish you all a peaceful and happy Christmas.
Good Good evening to you. One present we can all be sure of is yet another mild day, as we're going to continue in this run of westerly winds. We're also going to have this frontal system to contend with, and that'll bring some outbreaks of rain to northern parts both tonight and tomorrow. And then that front will be working its way down across the country, so some rain coming into southern areas late tomorrow or at first on Sunday. And then for the rest of the holiday weekend, I think we'll mostly find ourselves with somewhat cooler weather, but brighter weather with some showers. But back to tonight now, and it's certainly a very mild picture in all parts of the country. And over England and Wales, there'll be a good deal of cloud. It'll be pretty misty, I think, in most places. Some patchy fog around, especially the coast, but over some of the hills as well. And a little rain or drizzle from time to time to go with it. Over Scotland and Northern Ireland, I think rather more in the way of rain, but not all that much in any case. But the wind picking up all the time in those more northern areas. And then tomorrow, well, I suppose in a way, again, it's a north-south split. So that gives us England and Wales, for the most part, I think a fairly dry day. But having said that, there will be a little rain scattered around. But most places dry for a good part of the day. A good deal of cloud again, and a pretty dull, misty, murky day, just like we had today. But again, very mild, 11 or 12 degrees centigrade. That's the low 50s Fahrenheit. Over Scotland and Northern Ireland, I think you'll find a good deal of cloud and rather more in the way of rain. But even here, as the day goes on, that rain should tend to ease off from the northwest, and in these more northwestern parts later on, your weather should brighten up and you'll eventually have a little bit of sunshine, although a few showers scattered around as well. Well, that's all from me, except from everybody in the Meteorological Office. A very happy Christmas.
A bumper package of entertainment for Christmas Day on BBC One. At 5:20, Jim will fix it, and one dream comes true in this Christmas edition when two young girls visit Ken Dodd's Jam Butty Mines.
Ooh, I love Jam Butties, and you'll love the feast of magic we've got lined up for Christmas Day.
At 6:55, Last of the Summer Wine.
Where am I going to use my mistletoe round here?
It's not that kind of Christmas.
At 7:30, the two Ronnies, Christmas style.
Christmas cheer, especially around this time of year.
At 8:15, murder and mystery on a luxury cruise in Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile.
I feel the presence of evil all about me. On the third day.
At 10:40, an invitation from Perry Como and friends to Christmas in Paris.
To cherry tart and a delicious chocolate eclair.
At 11:30, a ghost story for Christmas. The Signalman stars Denham Elliott as a lonely man haunted by a hooded figure. And at 12:10, Christmas night with the Spinners.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Christmas Day entertainment on BBC One.
In 55 minutes, the Carry On team, headed by Sid James, Kenneth Williams and Joan Sims, get involved with the French Revolution. Don't lose your head. You'll need it to enjoy this fast-moving comedy at 10:20. First, it's off to the Panto for a celebration of that traditional and much-loved figure, the Dame, who over the years has evoked countless cries of, "Oh, yes, I am," "Oh, no, you're not."